Hello, you are watching Leader Speakeasy with me, Luqman Haris.
And me, Rozina Aziz.
Rozina is the co-founder and CEO of Metamorphosa, a former news, media and corporate woman who now mentors, coaches, trains and consults global leaders and entrepreneurs.
Thank you, Luqman. Today we will have a conversation on empowering women in tech. First, an introduction on our guest.
Yuki Aizawa has always believed in the power of technology to empower people and make the world a better place. With roughly 20 years of experience in the fintech sector, Yuki previously co-founded Rin Technologies and Consulting, which uses blockchain-backed solutions to tackle issues like deforestation and financial inclusion. Since then, she has set her sights on what technology can tackle next: women empowerment. Having been appointed the country director of Malaysia for women in tech, Yuki is now on a mission to close the gender gap and to help women embrace technology with a focus on the UN's Sustainable Development Goal 5B, harnessing technologies. Since 2018, Women in Tech has directly impacted over 200,000 women across the world. It now aims to empower 5 million women and girls by 2030 by educating and equipping them with the necessary skills to succeed. How do they get there?
Yuki, welcome to Leader Speakeasy with Luqman and Rozina.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here today.
Thank you, Yuki. Let's kick off by discussing your leadership mantra. After gaining your bachelor's degree from Tsukuba University in Japan, you went on to do an executive MBA at the Quantic School of Business and Technology in the United States. Tell us how your interest in technology first came about. Were you inspired by anyone in particular?
I'm not a coder, programmer, to just set the scene. Loved playing games while being a child, Nintendo, for example, and graduated with a literature degree. Not really anything to do with tech, and I was really trying to find my why. Then I met and influenced by now my co-founder, joined this banking software company, and that's basically the start. And of course then the blockchain came, evolution came, and we see that blockchain is the next evolution which can tap helping people, which is the core of my social impact driven mission, I would call it.
So, Yuki, you have over 20 years of experience, predominantly in fintech, and was the co-founding CEO of Rin Technologies and Consulting, which owns blockchain-backed solutions to address social issues, specifically deforestation and financial inclusion. In 2021, you were named the Malaysia National Winner for the United Nations Women Empowerment Principles, or WEP Awards, for Leadership Commitment SME Champion. So in empowering women, be it to succeed in the SME world or in the rapidly growing technology sector, share with us, Yuki, your leadership mantra and values that you feel are most critical as an empowered female leader to succeed.
I'll start with, I think this is across industry and anyone, growth mindset. Curiosity. I'm always curious about almost anything and everything. My core, as I always share with my friends, colleagues, people that I touch upon, Ikigai, which is the Japanese saying of purpose of life. I feel that it's an intersection of your skills, your strength, and something you're good at as well as you're getting paid for. Right. We all have to get paid for, so I think it's a great intersection. And also, I feel that ask and advice through your network. I mean, creating a network is one really important thing, but we never, as women, I feel that we never really ask as much as we should. No one will say no if you ask humbly, like, can I get your help? I think that's the way I see it.
Yeah, you seem to do well at balancing your busy life as an entrepreneur, a country director of the newly launched Women in Tech Malaysia chapter, your work as a floral and resin artist, your family, living between Hong Kong and KL, and also yoga, I was told. Women are always asked, or rather unfairly, if they can have it all or something has to give. How do you strike the right balance and remain resilient mentally, physically, as well as emotionally, Yuki?
Thank you for that, but definitely I'm far from striking a good balance. I think what we have to always remember is as an organization in the company, if we're working for that, that's why I think these conversation always unfolds that all the stakeholders, policymakers, as an organizational structure, should help men, women in having a proper structure for their employees so that they have an option. I always love to use this word option. I think everyone should be given an option. So when you have maternal leave or paternal leave, you can share your burden. Your husband could, what should I say, opt to take care of the children, for example, right? So it's a fine balance. Of course, I was very lucky to have a very supportive family, my husband, my children. So I was able to do what I wanted. And of course, I think another thing to say is that don't be a perfectionist. It's okay to have your me time and to delegate. I think we tend to take over everything. So this is only possible, of course, with a proper structure by the company or the society that gives that.
So Yuki, congratulations on the launch of Women in Tech Malaysia chapter just end February. You're now part of the international non-profit Women in Tech global movement that strives to close the gender gap and to help women embrace technology. And I understand that the organization claimed to have created an impact on 200,000 women since its launch in 2018. So what is the measurable impact to the 200,000 women so far, and what specifically will the global movement be doing to extend that impact to 5 million by 2030, which is just 8 years away?
Yes, thank you for your kind words. I'm really excited to bring this international non-profit here in Malaysia. We are the 24th chapter now officially, and 25th was right after us, which is Germany. And so far, I think just like a startup, it started off with a slow, I would say, start as a HQ in France up to today. It's 25 chapters. It took like three and a half years, close to 4 actually, and growing into 200,000+ of empowering women mission that has been achieved. But from here on, it will go into a growth, a scaling part, which the HQ is having quite an exponential growth planned. So 5 million by 2030, we have 8 years. From the moment they started in 2018, we had education programs. We have projects like, for example, in Zambia, they brought this water project, which the whole village was empowered. Next will be electricity. So also events being participated by 150 over 1,000 globally with all the chapters that we have. A lot of them is to do, I feel, that is the participating sponsors. I would really want to work with all across educational, academia, government agencies, big tech companies. I think we are talking a lot about the diversity and inclusion, hiring, talent acquisition. All of that should be in place. So I think we have 8 years. From now to the exponential growth, we'll be able to reach with 100 chapters by end of next year, and so on.
Yeah, right. So you will now lead the Malaysia chapter, focusing on the 4 key pillars of global movement, which is advocacy, education, business, and social inclusion. What are the main challenges facing women in tech in Malaysia as we come out of the pandemic, which had an unprecedented impact?
I think first of all, a lot of very unfortunate stories, but on the other side, the unfortunate story folds an opportunity as well. And I think technology sector is definitely the case, right? A lot of course, the tourism was affected, real estate, property jobs have been affected. But on the other side, the digitalization, the technology space, have been impairment of, I think, growth. And so we're here as a help, especially for those who was affected during the pandemic, which was, I believe, SME sectors. Micro SME sectors make up 97% of Malaysian economy, of which 20% or so is women-led, women-owned business. And here I heard some of a good part, I would say, helped by the digitalization, which is using QR code, which is using e-commerce to empower the women. And they actually made like efficiency, and they came up with 20-30% more of proficiency. So this is where we are going as well. We help educate digital inclusion, digital skills, social inclusion, all of that words, I would say.
Back to the 4 pillars. Given where the Malaysian tech industry is today in terms of female participation, how many women do you here in Malaysia aim to impact, and how would you prioritize the 4 pillars to achieve that, as the Malaysian context could be slightly different from the global realities?
How many is a little bit early for us to say, as in it's only been 2 weeks since our launch, but obviously we have our roadmap. And as you well said, we have to work with the local communities, and we'll scale it. So the 4 pillars is education, social inclusion, business, and advocacy. So we are working closely with the government agencies, appointing communities to work with. Similar, She Loves Tech, for example, Girls in Tech. A little bit of a difference, we are not competing but complementing, would be for us in Women in Tech is we are advocating a lot of STEM education. We feel that it starts from very, very young age, of even 6, 7, before we create that bias, that we have to unbreak the bias from very young age. So STEM education is a prominent part of Women in Tech, and all the way up to, I love to call the digital inclusion, where even board level ladies who is lacking the skills of digital can be included. And so education is part of a very important sector, and other things unfolds.
Right, we'll go for a short break. We'll be back with Yuki Aizawa, the Country Director of Women in Tech Malaysia Chapter. And you're back with Leader Speakeasy with Luqman and Rozina in conversation with Yuki Aizawa, the Country Director of Women in Tech Malaysia Chapter.
Yuki, in the US last year, the Securities and Exchange Commission approved a request from NASDAQ that all companies listed on its tech-heavy exchange have at least 1 woman board member, or they have to disclose why they do not. According to the 30% Club Malaysia, in 2021, only 26% of the top 100 Bursa Malaysia listed companies have female board members. Yet, return on equity is said to be 38% higher for companies with female board representation. So, learning from the move by the US Securities and Exchange Commission, here in Malaysia, what kind of ecosystem and policies are needed to boost women's participation in tech as entrepreneurs, top leaders, and board members?
I think similarly, Malaysia is implementing top 100 PLCs are going to have at least one participation by 2023. So I think as we speak, framework guidelines are definitely an important play to it. UN women's webs, for example, they've been inviting all the big corporates, private sector to join as signatory. That gives a guideline. Women's participation at work, safety, also maternity, paternity, so that given the option, things like that. I think it could be just checking the box, or it's not just, I mean, when you have a framework, when you have a guideline, people are bound to be following that. And also a lot of HR, talent acquisition, they are speaking a lot about diversity and inclusion, so that's a very good messaging. And as women in tech as well, we are really honing into counting on big, especially tech companies, of course, in the diversity and inclusion space. And I think this is all the messaging, and people start to see a lot of role models, and we want to be in STEM, science, technology, engineering, maths. Now we call it the STEAM, art being included as NFT and metaverse, all the likes of it.
Right. There are many who hold the view that one factor may prevent women from joining the tech industry, the bro culture. And with that, the lack of sensitivity education, which often create a work culture that's not safe for women, psychologically and in extreme cases, physically. Share with us your views on that and what is needed for diversity, equity and inclusivity to create that safe environment for women to enter the tech industry and also to flourish.
Definitely awareness and policy framework guidelines should be in place. That's why I emphasize on the what UN is doing is great, putting WEP's signatory participation in place, and that, as I have earlier spoke about, talks about everything from safety to healthy organizational structure, how to maintain that balance, strike that balance, so that female feels overtime work safer. I get all these questions all the time. So checking the box, obviously, for the quota's sake, again, I have to say yes, but without that, we are just shooting in the dark and nothing's going to happen. And so again, awareness, messaging, framework, all of these play a vital role.
So Yuki, the conversations around International Women's Day this year has revolved around breaking biases. Now, you're an entrepreneur. One major concern is that women founders receive less than 3% of global venture capital funding. So what can women in tech do to empower other women to gear up and make significant breakthroughs in terms of getting funding for their entrepreneurial ventures?
Yes, it's a very painful stats that we have, and globally, I think even it's around 3-4%. That actually plumbed from previously 6 or 7. Here at Women in Tech, we have had a few conversations with, for example, Business Angel Network. And specifically, we want to have a pitch contest with, in mind, just women focus. So pitch contest for women-led businesses, for example, and the jury, the judge, and people who is going to vet, the VCs, for that matter, or angel, they will be women as well. And prior to that, we educate how, I think it all goes with the mindset as well, that you need to boost your confidence. So from that type of program all the way up to how do you pitch, how do you prepare your slides and all of that, but all honing into women.
So we will now move on to the more fun quickfire questions. You only have 20 seconds to answer each question. First up, you were born in Japan but grew up mostly in Southeast Asia. What's your favorite Malaysian food?
Okay. Char kway teow and nasi kerabu.
Good choices. But it's hard to pick between the two, so you have to pick two, right? Two favorites.
Sorry, I can't decide. Both are nice. I'm a girl who can't stick with one type of food. I have to have varieties. So.
Right, so you've been here for quite a while. I'm going to give you an opportunity to show off a bit since you've been here for quite a while. Can you show off how much Bahasa Malaysia you already speak by now? Because I heard that you speak quite well by now.
Adoy. That's really like I was not prepared for that. Tapi macam saya
Yuki, apa kabar?
Apa kabar is very easy. Baik. Thank you. Terima kasih banyak for having me here today.
It's okay. You had me at Adoy.
Adoy.
Right, Rosie?
What's the one thing you like better in Malaysia than in Japan?
Transportation. I don't have to be in a sardine can where you see people pushing into a train. I have the luxury of driving my own car and I can wear my stilettos from door to door.
Thank you, Yuki Aizawa, the Country Director of Women in Tech Malaysia Chapter, for helping us shed more light into what needs to be done to further empower women in tech.
Be sure to join us, as always, on Leader Speakeasy with Luqman and Rozina for conversations on leadership as the country and the world strive to bounce back from the pandemic. I'm Luqman Haris.
And I'm Rozina Aziz, wishing you the very best in your career, business and leadership journey. Stay safe, stay resilient.